Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that the sky above you is no longer blue. There are no clouds. No wind. No sound. The air feels still, because there is no air at all. The entire sky has turned into a pitch-black window into space, and the world you knew has changed forever. This is what would happen if the Earth suddenly lost its atmosphere. Today, we explore a world without air, without pressure, without protection, and without life as we know it. This is the terrifying reality of an Earth with no atmosphere. Welcome to Information World. In this video, we dive deep into one of the scariest scientific what-ifs ever imagined. What would actually happen to our planet, to the oceans, to the weather, to human bodies, and even to time itself if the atmosphere disappeared instantly for just 1 second, or forever? The truth is more dramatic and more dangerous than most people realize. So sit back, relax, and let's begin this journey into a world where Earth becomes more alien than Mars. To understand the consequences, we first need to understand what the atmosphere really is. Most people think of it as just the air we breathe, but it is much more than that. The atmosphere is a massive protective blanket made of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, water vapor, and traces of many other gases. It stretches more than 10,000 kilometers into space, though most of its mass stays close to the surface. It gives us breathable air, creates weather, blocks harmful radiation, and keeps Earth warm. Without it, the planet would be completely unrecognizable. So what happens the moment the atmosphere vanishes? The first effect is immediate and deadly. Every human on the surface would lose consciousness in seconds. Not because of lack of oxygen alone, but because your body relies on air pressure. When there is no air pressure, the fluids inside your body begin to boil. Not from heat, but because there is no pressure to keep them liquid. Your saliva, your tears, even the moisture in your lungs would begin to vaporize. You would not explode, as movies often show, but you would suffer internal boiling. Survival time would be less than a minute. The speed of sound would become zero, because sound waves need air to travel. The world would fall into absolute silence. You could scream, but no one would hear you. Explosions would make no sound. Cars, planes, and machines would go quiet instantly. The Earth would turn into a silent vacuum. Now imagine the sky above. Without an atmosphere, the sky does not appear blue. The blue color comes from sunlight scattering in the air. Without air, the sky becomes pure black, even in daytime. You would see stars shining in the day, just like astronauts do from space. The sun, however, would appear much harsher and more blinding, because nothing would soften its light. The temperature on Earth would change violently. The atmosphere normally keeps the planet warm through the greenhouse effect. Without it, the heat escapes into space instantly. Within hours, the global temperature would drop below freezing. Within days, it could reach temperatures seen on the moon at night, around -150 degrees Celsius. The oceans would begin to freeze from the top, forming thick layers of ice. But something strange would happen first. Before freezing, the upper layers of the ocean would start to boil again, not because of heat, but because of the sudden drop in pressure. The ocean would begin to evaporate into space. The water cycle would stop forever. Every lake, river, and sea would slowly disappear into the vacuum. Earth would lose its water supply over time. The lower layers of the ocean might remain liquid for a while due to geothermal heat, but eventually, they too would freeze solid. What about the land? Without the atmosphere, weather disappears completely. No wind, no rain, no storms, no clouds. The erosion of mountains stops. Rivers vanish. Forests collapse. Fires cannot burn because fire needs oxygen. Every flame goes out instantly. Plants die because they can no longer breathe carbon dioxide. Animals suffocate. The entire food chain collapses within minutes. Radiation becomes one of the greatest dangers. The atmosphere protects Earth from ultraviolet radiation, X-rays, and cosmic rays. Without it, the surface is blasted by deadly radiation from the sun and from deep space. In only a short time, the radiation would sterilize the planet, killing any remaining life forms. Even bacteria would struggle to survive. But the atmosphere does more than protect life. It also protects Earth from meteors. Every day, small rocks from space slam into the atmosphere and burn up as shooting stars. Without the atmosphere, every meteor, no matter how small, would crash directly into the surface. Constant impacts would pummel the planet, creating millions of new craters. Life would have no chance. Let's talk about gravity for a moment. Many people think the atmosphere pushes down, but in reality, its pressure pushes in all directions. With no atmosphere, that pressure disappears. Some man-made structures might collapse or crack because they were built to handle external pressure. But more importantly, airplanes would fall from the sky instantly. Planes rely on air to generate lift. Without air, wings cannot function. Every aircraft flying at the moment the atmosphere disappears would drop like a stone. Satellites in low Earth orbit would also face problems. Without the atmosphere's thin drag layers, satellite orbits would change. Some satellites would drift. Others might decay or collide more easily. Communications on Earth would fail over time, and GPS systems would become unreliable. Now let's explore something even more extreme, how the lack of atmosphere affects the sun's heat. You might think Earth would get extremely cold forever, but it's more complicated. Without an atmosphere, there is no medium to carry heat across the planet. This means the side facing the sun becomes extremely hot, reaching temperatures of around 120 degrees Celsius, while the opposite side becomes extremely cold. Earth would develop deadly temperature extremes similar to the moon. The day side would be burning hot, the night side freezing cold. Life could never adapt. Another strange effect involves time. On Earth, the atmosphere slows down certain particles and affects how atomic clocks function. Without an atmosphere, time would flow slightly differently, almost unnoticeable to humans, but measurable by scientific instruments. The planet's rotation would also slowly change, because the atmosphere normally creates friction against the surface. Without it, Earth would rotate slightly faster over millions of years. The magnetic field would become Earth's only remaining shield, but it would not be enough. The magnetosphere protects against charged particles from the sun, but without the atmosphere, the surface still receives intense radiation. Over millions of years, the solar wind might even slowly strip away the ocean's remaining frozen layers, turning Earth into a dry, dead rock like Mercury. So, is there any scenario where Earth could survive without an atmosphere and still have life? Surprisingly, yes, but only deep underground or underwater. If the atmosphere disappeared slowly instead of instantly, some life forms might adapt. Microorganisms buried deep in rocks, protected from radiation, could continue to exist. Hydrothermal vents in the deep ocean would still provide heat and energy. Life would not vanish completely, but it would never return to the surface. Now let's look at Earth's appearance from space. Without an atmosphere, Earth would look very different. There would be no blue glow around it. No clouds. No storms. The ocean surfaces would slowly shrink. The land would start to look more like Mars or the moon, dry, cracked, and barren. Ice sheets would grow. The planet's once beautiful blue color would fade into a darker, colder tone. Earth would become almost unrecognizable. But what if the atmosphere disappeared for only 10 seconds and then came back? Would we survive? The answer is surprising. Most humans would still die. 10 seconds without pressure is enough to cause severe internal damage. Your lungs could rupture if you tried to breathe. Anyone outside would lose consciousness. Planes would crash. Fires would go out. Electronics might survive, but life would not. Even a short disappearance of the atmosphere would cause global catastrophe. What if the atmosphere disappeared for 1 second? Even 1 second is deadly enough. The air would rush away, then rush back violently. Shock waves would destroy buildings, crush windows, and injure millions of people. The sudden pressure change alone would be fatal for many. The Earth's surface would shake as the air returned. The destruction would be massive. So the atmosphere is not just a layer of gas. It is the reason Earth is alive. It is the reason our oceans exist, our climate functions, and our world remains warm and stable. Without it, our planet becomes a silent, frozen, airless rock drifting through space. Our atmosphere is one of the thinnest and most fragile parts of our planet, yet it protects us from an unforgiving universe. Understanding its importance reminds us how delicate life on Earth truly is. It also shows why planets like Mars, which lost most of their atmospheres, became barren and frozen. Thank you for watching Information World. If you enjoyed exploring this terrifying scenario and want to see more deep science videos, make sure to join us again. Take care, stay curious, and I will see you in the next video.